This episode contains reflections on trauma, PTSD, as well as references to a therapeutic retreat involving psilocybin. While shared with care and hope, some listeners may find parts of this episode activating. Please listen with gentleness towards yourself and take a break if needed. Shards, where the words won't go. Wow, it's been a while since I've spoken with you, and I just want to say thank you for your patience, and I'm excited to share. I don't really know how it's going to go, so there are no words to describe what happened, but something did happen, and I'm still listening to it. There are moments when words become too small, not because there's nothing to say, but because what happened belongs to a language deeper than speech. I've just returned from a 5-day retreat that marked something profound in me. I won't be explaining everything, but I will offer you something true, especially if you too are carrying trauma, addiction, or the long ache of remembering who you are. You've known what I've been walking through, and you knew I was going on this retreat, and you knew I was hoping for healing, for clarity, for reclaiming the connection with the child I had separated from just so I could survive. And now that I've come through the journey and I'm at least this part of it, I want to offer something back to you. Not an explanation, not a story, but a truth that I felt in my body. So leading up to the retreat, election night happened, as we talked about earlier. I went through intense grieving and emotionally unstable. And I found this retreat by searching for retreats that specialized in trauma and specifically sexual childhood abuse. So when I found it, I reached out to them. They set up an interview over Zoom, and that was really eye-opening. And I wasn't sure how it was going to play out, but I kept leaning in and saying yes to things. And the moment that I finally agreed to join the retreat, it was as if I had a hope, a carrot on the end of the stick, something to aim for. And it was several weeks away. And during that time, I started speaking with you through this podcast and doing lots of other things, journaling, writing poetry, just anything to help me get through it. This experience wasn't a mental one. My mind, when I was at retreat and doing the different types of meditations and breath work and journeys, my mind tried to stay busy at first, thinking of everyone, everything like it always does. But even then, my body knew what to do. In my first journey, which happened on the second day of the retreat, I wept in a way that I had never wept as an adult before. I had no real memory of it, but I was trembling, crying like a child. It wasn't sadness. It was something older, a release, a remembering. And my body, in a weird way, was comforted by this release. I brought a pair of glasses to the retreat from my childhood, and I had placed them on the altar that they had invited us to bring things to help us on our journey. And I placed my glasses on the altar, and that act, as much meaning as I put behind it, that act became an anchor that held me. And I want to say that on the retreat, I didn't see little David that I was coming back to find or rescue, to be the hero of. But I felt him. I felt him waiting in a clearing deep within me as if it was a dark forest and he was there waiting. And I knew that when I reached him, he would say, "I knew you would come for me someday. I've been waiting." And the mind is really powerful for us as we process and attempt to make meaning and attempt to heal, attempt to seek out love, attempt to find words. But at some point, on this retreat, I guess I stopped. Somehow I stopped trying to understand and just started listening. And the strangest thing happened during the breath work. The breath work was like unbelievable. I've never done anything like this. Like, I've done yoga, I've done breathing and meditation, I've done lots of, like, the value of the breath has been a part of my practice forever. But this was intense breath work. And the strangest thing happened. I heard my name, not the one I use, not David, not the one I use with you, or I use with my husband, or I use with my friends or my family, but the one that only I know. I heard it not in my ears, not in my mind, but in my body. And with the breath work, there was no medicine. There was just breath, just me, and an encouraging facilitator who believed in what my body could unlock. And it did. It cracked me open. It was one of the most profound openings I've ever experienced. One journey in breathwork in particular, I think it was on a Friday morning. I was doing the breath work, and it was with sound. We had headphones on and there was music, and the facilitator was like a coach, and he was keeping us on track, encouraging us, go deeper, breathe. And the breathing is this three-part rhythm that you can eventually get into, and you're not even working at it, but it takes a lot of effort, and it wasn't easy for any of us. I was trembling, and I was feeling this feeling of a veil lowering onto me and then passing through my body and going into the earth. And I had several of those. And then I saw above me a cross. It was highlighted in kind of a goldish, bluish tint. And the cross itself was kind of a white gray, but definitely white as it was coming towards me. And I grew very anxious, and I almost wanted to stop breathing, but that's when I started crying. Like, my body was convulsing. It was like a kid, that can't catch their breath and they're crying. And the cross kept getting closer and closer, and I was determined to not have it reach me. But it kept getting closer and closer. And then, just as it was right in front of me, I breathed, and the facilitator was there offering support, came to my side and touched me. Now, I had blindfolds on, I can't see anything, and I had headphones on, I can't hear anything. But that touch opened me and allowed that cross to lay over me and into my body. And all of the religious trauma, I'm not kidding, all of the religious trauma that I've dealt with for decades dissipated. It was as if I was not looking outward to some salvation. The salvation was within me. And the symbol of the cross was that for me, because that was what I had attached the meaning of salvation to. It was unbelievable. And I just wanted to share that. And if you're listening to this and you are carrying your own storm, whether it's addiction, PTSD, shame, or the stories that no one would ever believe. So the final journey took me even further. And this was the next to the last day of the retreat. The final journey, I didn't really have visions, but I had I reached into sort of a body wisdom. Old stories, relationships, and identities came back around, tempting me to stay small. And I struggled, and I grieved, and eventually I let them go. And it was a body experience. None of this is I have no story attached to any of these things, but I knew that's what was happening. I could feel it, and I would hold them in my hand and study them, even though I did not know what they were. And some of them I kept, and I would place over my heart, into my heart. Some of them I tossed away. Some of them I ripped up. Some of them I threw as far as I could. Some of them I screamed to get away. And eventually, after doing that time, who knows how long it was, but eventually when these things kept coming, I could just simply, I didn't have to fight anymore. My body knew they weren't mine, knew what wasn't mine anymore, and I could literally just flick them away with my finger, and they would tumble away and not have any bearing on my experience anymore. And what I released wasn't just mine, it was a generational. I mean, I had walked through a door with the ancestors watching. And then something came through that was like earthy, primal, ancient, and I was making guttural sounds that I can't even describe. And it was, I knew that I was where I was supposed to be. I knew that's why I had come there. And it felt like I had returned to the masculine, like the primal masculine, not domination or detachment, but strength, rooted in gentleness, warmth, presence, something I had never really felt before or let myself feel before. Bring your hand to your chest with me now. Feel your heartbeat. You're still here. There is more for you. Hear that. Feel your breath. There is healing, even when you can't imagine it. The most profound thing that I experienced on this retreat was little David was there. I had envisioned him as a little four-eyed, scared little boy trembling in the woods, waiting for me. But no, he was not a boy anymore. He was something more. He was a man. Not the kind I had feared, but one who was grounded and free, held by the earth, open to the sky. And this isn't something I saw, it's something I became. And I have vivid memories of physically removing things and adding things to my aura, to my spirit, to my body. And I knew this is a line that I crossed. There was life before this retreat, and then there's life after. I know the line I've crossed. Relationships, even with myself, will begin to take a new shape. Some changes will be seen, most will be unseen. And what I give, what I receive, it will all change because I have changed. Something has shifted. Something was released and something was returned. I don't share this as a prescription or as a product. I share it because if you are carrying something that just won't let you go, trauma, addiction, fear, shame. That's a big one for me. And wow, this experience got me through the shame like, I don't know, a decade of talk therapy. It was so profound. I want you to know that there are sacred places where healing is real. Some use medicine, some use breath, but the truest medicine is you. Your body knows, your breath remembers, and the moment you stop running, the healing begins. The facilitator, my facilitator of the journeys, she said to me, once you start healing, once you start seeing the benefits of your work, you realize that it's much easier to heal than it is to stay in the suffering, than it is to stay in the pain. And I'm still integrating, and I'm still listening, and I'm still gaining things from this retreat. But something is different now, and in that difference, I want to say there is hope. There is help, and you are never as alone as the pain you may feel. You are never as alone as the pain once made you feel. You are never alone when you move through the pain. If you are someone who's hurting, who's tried everything, who wonders if healing is even possible, I just want to say you are not beyond hope. There are places where people walk beside you into the silence. There are practices, some ancient, some have been rediscovered, that can help bring you home to yourself. This retreat that I went on in particular used psilocybin as one of the tools. And I'll never pretend it's a magic fix, and neither will any of the people who have come to have a relationship with psychedelics. It's not a magic fix. But when held with reverence, with a trained guide, with intention and integration, it can be a doorway, not to a new identity, but to your true one. And that's what I'm trying to walk with now. I don't really have the words, and I know you've been so patient and caring. Let's take a moment to do a bit of a meditation. Wherever you are, hopefully you're either seated or lying down. If you're walking, getting your exercise, maybe stop. Sit somewhere. Sit on the grass on this beautiful spring day. Put one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and feel that breath rise and fall. Is there a part of yourself you've been waiting to return to? What does your body know that your mind has been afraid to hear? Listen to your body. Have you experienced healing through breath, through presence, or through something that you can't quite explain, no matter how hard you try? What might it mean to meet the child version of yourself and let them become something more? Maybe this moment is the beginning of your healing too. I don't have all the language yet, and maybe that's the point. Maybe I'll never have the language. But there are shards that shine not because they're polished, but because they've been through the fire. This one, the one we're talking about today, it is still very warm in my hand. May you feel the breath in your chest, the earth beneath you. May you remember what your body knows and find the courage to follow that wisdom home. You are not broken. You are becoming. Thank you for holding space with me. Thank you for loving me through this. I have felt that love. And if you're listening and wondering if healing is possible, keep going. I'll meet you at the next shard.